Hello, everyone, and welcome to our founder talk. Tonight, we will be chatting with the team behind Plannr Consulting. I'll start by first sharing a little bit about our founder program. My name is Shauna. I'm KS Welly's founder program coordinator. KS Welly is what we lovingly refer to. It's the shortened name for the Kendra Scott Women's Entrepreneurial Leadership Institute. At our founder program, we're all for spotlighting, equipping, and empowering courageous and creative founders each semester. Our founder program application actually officially launches tomorrow, but you can access it currently. But keep an eye out tomorrow on our social media and on our newsletter, where we'll be promoting it further. And now I would like to introduce the Plannr Consulting team. Take it away, ladies.
Hi, I'm Sri. My full name is Srileka, but I go by Sri. I'm currently a sophomore at the University of Michigan, studying business, minoring in community action and social change, and education. I'll let Anika and Advika introduce themselves too.
Hey y'all, my name is Anika and I'm currently a junior studying management information systems, computer science, and business analytics. And I'm also a co-founder here at Plannr Consulting and super excited to talk with y'all.
Hi guys, I'm Advika. I'm a sophomore here at UT and I'm studying biochemistry on the pre-med track. And yeah, I'm also a co-founder and excited to be here.
Amazing. Do you each want to share your story about how you developed Plannr Consulting and how it came to be?
Yeah, so I guess I can provide a little bit of personal background to how Plannr started, and then we'll go into a little bit more about what we do as well. So in middle school, I moved to Texas in the middle of middle school, and my mental health took a very big toll because of it. And I know that it's a very common experience to move and start fresh. So it was definitely something that people could relate to. And in that period of time, I became more aware of the mental health issues that I've been kind of facing my whole life: anxiety, depression, just to name a few. And I discovered my passion for the mental health space during this period of time after writing for several journals and online magazines and joining a lot of different mental health communities, and eventually fell upon mental health research about mental health equity and all of those areas. So learning, writing, and reflecting about mental health helped me understand myself on a deeper level, as well as the subject itself. And in September 2019, after all of this research and reflection that I'd been doing, we started Plannr Consulting a few months before COVID hit, as a way for students to also learn and reflect on their own mental health through peer mentorships. So we were founded on the notion that we as peers can help uplift and empower each other, and understand and empathize with each other better because of our age-related connections. Through these one-on-one sessions that we do. And this was the same thing that my peers had been doing for me at the time. So I found it really applicable in this nonprofit sense. So starting Plannr was more like of a big journey, honestly, in the versatility of the organization, as well as the constant like malleability and our really strong core values of mental health equity, empathy, inclusivity, and transparency has helped us adapt to COVID and make a more overall tangible impact. And now I just want to say this organization has brought me so much love and care in my life. And through learning more and more about my mental health, and about mental health in general, I eventually started therapy myself and took larger steps towards healing. So that really shows the power of being in an organization that works in mental health and that is more of a community rather than just of a nonprofit. And I also made friends and connections across the world that I value a lot, and I'm so grateful for today. So I'm really excited to continue on this journey with these wonderful people who made Plannr what it is today. And I'll also let Anika and Advika share some of their story on how they founded Plannr too.
Yeah, so like similar to Shuleka, my family and I, we moved around kind of a lot. And so that was kind of a challenge, but I also kind of started liking it, like getting to meet new people, having new perspectives, different cultures and experiences. And so I quickly learned like trying to see that change in a positive light was really helpful. And I also noticed that, you know, when I was in high school, it was a pretty academically stressful environment. And I noticed that like I was pretty overwhelmed, saw that like a lot of people were too, but no one was really interested in having like starting that discussion. And I felt like having like creating Plannr consulting kind of allowed for us to build that conversation and realize that, you know, you're not alone. If you're struggling, you know, if you need help with anything, whether it be academically or even more, you know, there's other people going through that same kind of issue, especially as students. And so creating this sort of community definitely kind of helped me see, you know, that we all kind of, you know, have issues, or we all are working together to be better. And yeah, so I feel like creating Plannr kind of allowed me, just like Srileka said, like getting that community and getting closer with others and help. I really like helping other people, and that makes me feel good. And so knowing that I'm able to help others and then also be able to get that help back has been really nice.
Yeah, definitely have to like resonate. I definitely resonate with whatever like Anika and Shalika have said. Personally, I also did move a lot. I guess that's something all three of us have in common. I moved to Texas in high school, so my high school period, and before that, I was in Sweden and Germany and other places outside of US. And just coming in, like high school is such a big change in itself, but like an American high school is so different from like anything I've ever experienced. And all three of us actually went to the same high school, so our high school was a bit like academically rigorous, and I always felt like there wasn't as much like emotional support and even academic support, but mainly like the emotional and mental support wasn't available to us, especially being in a public school. And I've always been like the older sibling, and like I've always found a way to deal with things myself and be independent. And I had my own coping mechanisms, but when Srileka actually like during COVID period, she came in and like proposed this idea about like Plannr consulting and being able to like empower other students like our age. That really inspired me, because I was like, why does one person have to go through this turmoil and this just this stress alone, when you can go through it as a community and kind of share people's experiences and learn from it. And that's like the core of why I wanted to start Plannr, and even like make it such a amazing thing. And I definitely think it's grown into a lot. I thought the idea of like having peer mentor sessions, like one student talking to another student, is like amazing, because especially when they're a stranger, that idea of being able to be transparent to someone you don't know is so much more easier than someone you do know, because you're not overthinking. And I really like that concept, and I'm so glad that we've been able to grow it.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible. I am so grateful that you've created a resource like this. I think it's absolutely amazing. And I agree, it is so much easier to talk to someone you don't know sometimes. All right. Well, what does the average day look like for you now that you're an entrepreneur, as compared to before you were creating your own business?
Well, I feel like the schedule during COVID was very different from what it looks like now. During COVID, it would often be get up, do online school, and then I would have blocks of time for each of my jobs that I worked on. So I worked at a math tutoring center, so I would have like 2 hours for that, and then 2 hours to work on Plannr things and some meetings in the night usually, and dinner with my family. Now it's definitely a lot more chaotic for me, at least, because classes are in person now and I have new jobs. I'm in a completely different state. So things are a little more complex. We can't meet in person as much anymore. And I mean, we never really needed to meet in person much because we have an international team. But so scheduling those meetings has become more difficult in a sense because we have such hectic lives. But typically every weekend we do an exec team meeting or a call with us three founders to talk about operational things. And then throughout the week, I've scheduled like little blocks of time, 30 minutes to an hour a day, where I can go in and work on things related to Plannr. And recently we incorporated as a 501c3. So that was a big thing on our plate. So every day we'd go in and check the status with the IRS and stuff to see if we'd pass through, which we have now. So that's exciting. But yeah, so I guess things are a lot more chaotic and there's not like a specific schedule, but that's part of being an entrepreneur, I feel. So yeah.
Yeah, I'd say like COVID kind of helped Plannr in a way because it allowed us, like, it was online, so it really allowed us to connect, like it made collaboration smoother, and we had like a lot of people internationally join, and we were glad to see that it kind of became more like a movement for students to connect with each other and support each other, because I know the COVID kind of put a lot more things on people's plates, or like, you know, it was a huge change that everyone had to shift into. And so creating Plannr during that time felt like the best time in order to help students in need and do it like freely. And now I'd say, like Srileka mentioned, it's just a bit harder to meet with them or like meet with each other just because our schedules are different. And now that we're like in a higher class as well, like classes are a bit more demanding, and then there's other things. So just, I guess, like learning to get into that routine and like staying consistent, I feel like is super important, whether it be, you know, with Plannr or it be with academically related. One thing I've learned is like scheduling those block of times and like showing up for myself every day and showing up for my team and for everyone else. And I think that that's super important.
Yeah, a big thing that I've like learned by creating Plannr and like learning more about entrepreneurship and business is that you never have a same week. Like there's never the same routine. Things change so often, and then that's if you wanted to change, which obviously like change is good, especially to grow an organization. And we definitely like accepted that. Like sometimes, just to give you an instance, back when we had created this organization like 2 years back, we had all three types of consultations. We had academic, and then more mental health, lifestyle related, and finally like even college admissions. And we ended up talking to some mental health professionals and other people involved in the business field, and they really harped on focusing on one niche. And we definitely, after that next month, we really took that time to break it down and try to focus and think about what we want our niche to be. And that month was much more time consuming than like any other day. So but in the end, like we did end up like making a really good idea and having this idea of like creating a certification process that peer mentors have to go through, and only focusing on like lifestyle one-on-one consultations. And that's really, like, you can see it's brought to like fruition and given a much more bigger meaning to Plannr consulting. So I definitely think like that's a big thing that I've learned, like be open to change and like always try to grow.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree. Being an entrepreneur, you definitely have to be open to change because things are always shifting. You gotta go with the flow. Can each of you share some obstacles or an obstacle that you've overcome as being a women business owner?
I think one thing that strikes me is being in a room full of white cisgender men constantly, and being under the male gaze and being under certain stereotypes that women fit into has been an obstacle that I've personally had to endure. In my BA class last year, my whole class was just white cisgender men. And that's what most of the business field looks like, unfortunately. And things are starting to change for the better, for sure. But being in an environment where you don't see people like you every day, or at least in the media, when you see people like you know, we don't see that often as women, and we don't see that often as Asian women specifically, right? Because that's the way business world and that's the way the world is right now. And I'm not saying that's okay. Things are changing and they do need to change. But that's definitely been an obstacle for me to believe in myself and empower myself to continue an organization like this, because it gets hard sometimes to believe that you can do something like this, like build an organization, because it is a lot of work and it's tough. And when you don't see other people like that, like yourself, doing things like that, it can seem like very impossible to do. So overcoming that and finding an inspiration to see, and overcoming the stereotypes that people have set for women in the industry has been something that I think that, I mean, honestly, we all three have overcome over the past 3 years. So, yeah.
Shri,
Right.
oh, sorry. Well, I was just gonna say, Shri, you make a really solid point, and that is our motto of the founder program is, if you can see her, you can be her, because our whole goal is to increase representation of women in entrepreneurship so we can help redefine leadership and entrepreneurship. So we're all about showcasing women founded and women led businesses so we can inspire others to find their passion and create their own businesses.
Right, for sure. And in the beginning, I was like kind of intimidated. I was like, wait, why are there not that many, women founders, women business owners out there? Like, what's kind of holding us back? And I guess that was initially something that I questioned a lot. And I realized, why to think about that. And like, one thing that I've learned is like it's super important to like uplift others. And so like being here, I really like the Kendra Scott community here at KSWLE, because like you mentioned, if you can see her, you can be her, and just being there to motivate each other and like supporting each other on our own unique journeys, I feel like is super important. And so it's nice that, things have changed for the better, and we have a lot of support from everyone that to help uplift each other. But, also on top of that, like showing up for yourself and being there for you, while like, I guess like even if there's like support that's going against you, or like you don't necessarily do as good, or like not being scared to fail, or like do bad, I think it's so super important to just show up for yourself and do it anyways, regardless of how the outcome could be.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I also think that initially when we did create this organization, I was in high school and I was thinking like, I kind of did have imposter syndrome. Like, am I good enough? Like, what makes me so special to like create an organization and be like the co-founder of it, and like trying to understand like what credibility do I have? But I think definitely getting through that barrier was very hard. But just looking at the people in our team and looking at how much they like being in the organization, and how I've also found this community through that of like, so like people who are passionate with mental health is really great, and it really helped me, like motivated me to even like continue this program. And I think like the UT like community is also really good. Like I'm in this other organization about social entrepreneurship called Cell, and they really encourage just trying to get out of your comfort zone and try to create something that you are passionate about and grow it, and fight for a social cause. So I think having those communities to be part of really like uplifts you and motivates you to like, continue your work.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Thank you for sharing those obstacles. What are some of the top things that you've learned in your journey so far?
I feel like there's a very long list of things that we learn. It's definitely been a huge like trial and error process with a lot of the things that we do. Like earlier, Advika was talking about the different types of consultations that we had with academics and all sorts of things. And that was definitely a huge change for us to shift away from academics and more towards mental health and create a branding that really represented us. And that was another thing. We did do a complete rebranding, like about 2021, I think 2021. Yeah. So last year we did like a complete rebranding. And those kind of changes are what really I feel like propelled our organization forward. And I feel like learning that, you know, change is good and change is going to make this organization better was a big key factor. And learning how to like let go of things, because I personally loved our academic consultations. I thought they were very helpful and people really liked them. We got positive feedback on them, but in the end, you know, our best direction was moving towards mental health, and that was something that I was super excited about too. So learning about how to change and adapt as an organization was really interesting. Yeah, I could go on for a long time about things that I've learned, but I will stop there and let Nika and Adika speak.
Okay, yeah. In addition to like learning, dealing with change, like being okay and accepting of that change, I feel like that's super important. And like Shalika mentioned, like that was the whole rebranding, like, you know, having to take the time to sit down and see, oh, what, you know, colors are more vibrant that kind of attract all these other students or like get students to come to us. I feel like getting like just understanding each other more and understanding from the change what we can do better. So like trying to always have like that consistent feedback. So like I feel like it's great having like people who are there to support you, but also trying to find mentors who are there who also like give that feedback or like let us know what we can do better. I feel like that is something that I've learned. Like, you know, it's nice, it's great having supporters, but also having people on your side who are there, who are like upfront with you or like honest with you on how you can improve and how you can grow. I think having mentors like that has definitely helped me learn how I can be better. Yeah.
Yeah, a big thing that I've learned is just communication, honestly. I think the fact that Plannr is fully online is like super difficult at times, just because you try to have one general meeting with everyone, and like the when to meet, just the link just doesn't end. Like people just keep filling it out 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, and it's very hard to like coordinate when you have so many time zones and stuff. But I think that's a big thing that I've learned, just to be open and to communicating with people in different sorts of ways. Like it doesn't even have to be through talking, but trying to communicate by allocating tasks in more creative ways, and making it more fun for them, just because this is something that they're coming onto our organization, and they're encouraging our mission, and it's our responsibility to make it fun, and so that they also want to like almost, I guess, encourage our mission. So like just being creative and think of ways to encourage people offline, and like when we're so many miles apart has been a hard thing, but I've definitely like learned a lot more by doing that.
Yeah, the virtual aspect of things can be a positive, but sometimes it can be a little difficult to work with. Thank you each for sharing. Now will you each tell me 1 to 2 of the proudest moments in creating Plannr Consulting?
Yeah, so I have two. One was the very first client that we've ever had. She was a master's student, and she wanted help on her college admissions essay. And I was a sophomore in high school helping a master's student write her college admissions essay. I didn't know what I was doing. And she was not in the US, she was an international student. So I sat down with her for an hour and walked her through some like basic English conventions and things like that, read her essay, reviewed it, did the best of my ability. And she knew straight up that I was very unqualified, in my opinion, at that time. But still, like, she believed in me for some reason and liked a lot of the stuff that I told her. And later she did submit a testimonial for us and said that it was really helpful to talk to someone, even if I wasn't like the same age, and it was still really helpful, and she got in. So it was just really inspiring, because I learned that even though I felt really underqualified, sometimes you just need someone to talk to about things. And that is the core of how we kind of heal in terms of mental health, is it's through talking with other people and making those kinds of connections. So it was kind of one of the first moments where I realized that this could actually have an impact. And it was just really heartwarming. The second one is when we became an official 501c3. We've been wanting to make it official for a very long time, for 3 years, but funding has just been really difficult. And eventually we did get a grant. And that was a huge part of why we were able to incorporate. And I'm just so grateful for that, because now we do get a bank account and we'll be able to apply for more grants, more funding, and this can be blown up to an even bigger scale, more events, more fun campaigns, and more impact in the end, right? So yeah, that was just another moment of like real success, I feel, for our work.
Wow, those sound like incredible moments. Also, I feel like you are more qualified than you would think, right? It's like that imposter syndrome that kind of seeps in to things for us as women sometimes. And I think it's a good reminder that you are more qualified than you think.
I guess something that I was pretty happy about with Plannr was like back in like 2019, 2020, when we created one of those campaigns. It was like the Underclassmen FAQ campaign. And I felt like that was kind of like a fun project that we did during COVID. And so it was kind of designed to like help underclassmen during COVID, like get their questions answered with like college admissions or like any other questions, because we know that like resources at that time like were kind of harder to get compared to now, like meeting in person and like getting to interact with other counselors. It's definitely a different feeling from doing that virtually. And so we kind of did that and we got a lot of support, and that was super successful. And kind of have to say also the 501c3 certification, like getting that through, it was a pretty long journey, took a while to get there, but definitely worth it. So something I learned was like, to be patient in part of this journey. It's not gonna like, success doesn't happen overnight. So like being consistent toward our goals and just working together and keeping each other accountable was definitely super important in making that happen.
I think for me, it's probably when we sent out our first application to join the team, and I think in a week around 40 people applied, and I was genuinely shocked because I was like, we're all in Austin, we're all just sitting here. I don't think anyone's gonna apply. I'm gonna ask my like friends around to maybe apply. But it was literally like people from all over the US, and then even people from all over the world. And I was very shocked that and also that was the first time I even realized how much impact you could make by just you don't even have to be somewhere else, but you can still send a message to someone else, however far they are. And that was definitely like a very cool moment. And I guess another like celebration recently is that we just got certified to give out PVSA awards, the like Presidential Service Volunteer Awards. So now we can even like appreciate our team members and volunteers through that way, which I'm like super happy about. And yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, I have one last question for you before we open up to the audience and open it up for Q&A. But what is the best advice you've received along your journey?
This is probably gonna sound very cheesy, but the best advice was don't give up. I know it sounds so basic, but there have been so many moments along the road that I have felt like just stopping and giving this role, this responsibility to someone else. Life gets crazy. and there's a lot of crap that's going to happen. But this organization has been like kind of a root in my life at this point. Like I have formed such an amazing community through this organization. I'm privileged to have these people in my life. And so many times I've thought, you know, like it would be just so much easier to just say like, okay, I'll just be a part of the community and not do any of the work. But my family and my friends and so many professionals and mentors in my life have said, you just have to keep going. That's like your only way through this. You know, you can't go over or under. There's no easy way out of things. And in the end, you're going to end up with something really fruitful, and you're going to keep having challenges and obstacles, and you're going to keep having the good moments and the bad moments in life and in, you know, building a nonprofit or building a business in general. But the only way through anything is going actually through it. So I know it's a really basic advice, but not giving up is really hard and really tough to do. Resiliency is one of the biggest skills that you can develop. So I think that is a really important piece of advice, no matter how many times it's repeated.
Yeah, and to add on to that, something that has been pretty motivational for me too is just showing up for myself every day, like being consistent, even if, you know, as Sri Lanka mentioned, you know, life happens, schedules change, you know, Plannr has had to change a lot. And so like being open to that change and taking it on bravely, I think is something, just being brave, being bold, even when you don't necessarily know what the outcomes are, not being afraid to fall down, fall fast, fail fast, but learn from it. And so like I looking at rejection as redirection. So like while having all these obstacles in the way, having a positive attitude while like going through all of that, I think is super helpful, because I feel like you attract what you grow, or like what you believe. And so staying resilient, kind of like she said, staying resilient, always seeing opportunities to grow and learn, and just moving on from that is super important. And I think that's really helped me a lot.
I think probably the biggest pieces of advice that I've received is just that listening is the most important form of communication. I think I've just applied this in so many different cases, and it's I've just learned so much through it, just because like when we do hire people, for example, like team members and stuff, we don't know them personally, and sometimes I think I always go back to my mechanism of like talking through awkwardness. When a situation is very awkward, I just like talk through it, and I talk a lot. But so it has been really hard for me to just sit and listen and endure the silence, but that does bring you valuable advice, and that does make people more comfortable to like open up. And I think that's a very important thing that I've learned.
Those are all fantastic learnings. I do not think that yours was basic, Shri. I think that people continue to say don't give up because it's so inspiring, right? Well, now I'd like to open it up for questions. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. Go for it.
I have two questions. My first question is, how is it working as a team, or like how do you navigate working with each other?
Yeah, so we were all best friends before we started working together. So us three, at least, we knew each other, and some other people on our exact team were also like already friends with us when they started working with us. And I think in a sense that's both challenging and nice for us to work together, in the sense that, you know, we already knew each other, we knew what work ethics we had, we knew how to communicate with each other, and challenging in the sense that we are best friends, and it is difficult to be honest and upfront with each other when we need something done, or when we notice that someone isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing. So being able to communicate and be honest with each other was definitely a huge learning curve for us three, at least. In the sense of the wider team, though, I feel like working with an international team was definitely like an obstacle, and we learned to just be very, very adapting and flexible with them, because we have such a busy team and such a widespread team. So time zones was a huge difficulty. But in terms of like logistical parts of working with a team, I think that just being adapting and flexible has been the biggest way to create a more feasible and smooth flowing workspace.
Yeah, we always like encourage everyone to like at least our exec directors who are in charge of each department to have their own like department meeting along with our general meeting, just because it creates a smaller community within our team and everyone gets to know each other better. And of course we have like socials that we do, like watch parties and stuff, just to get to know people in any sort of way. But yeah.
Feel free to ask your second question if you wanted to.
Sure. What does the future of Plannr consulting look like, or is there anything that you're working on launching? If you can talk to us about that.
Mika, do you want to take it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so right now we're working on like, getting that grant funding. And so we're really looking forward to that in order to further grow Plannr. And we're really excited because we want to we started like back in 2019 with it being online, and so we hosted a lot of our campaigns and our activities and events online. But now with us being certified as a nonprofit, we want to take a step further and actually like make more of an impact in our local community, like here at UT here in Austin. And so we kind of want to have like events. We want to host like an in-person event, potentially like a mental health expo coming up within these next few months. So getting funding for that and getting more support and community, like creating that community of support here in the local level, and then going further and further building out in our global level.
Oh, that's so exciting. Wow, that would be awesome. Let us know when you are gearing up to launch those. Does anybody else have any questions? Feel free to raise your hand with an emoji, or if you want, you can just unmute yourself. Okay. Well, I have one more for you. Was there someone in particular that inspired you to be an entrepreneur, or something that inspired you that you were like, okay, I'm going to actually make this a business? And maybe you mentioned it earlier at the beginning, I can't remember, but
For me, it's kind of super basic, but also like Shark Tank. Like I started watching it back in 8th grade, and it kind of became something that I watched with my dad like every weekend. And so kind of seeing like Lori and like seeing like women there who were represented, and like seeing all the different ideas that came up with the startups, I thought that it was super cool to see all these different solutions. And like even like some of the kids that came, like I saw that, no matter what age you are, you can build a huge impact. And so from that, I kind of got inspired that, hey, I can build impact myself. Seeing how they can do it, I can do it as well. So I feel like that show kind of, I guess I still watch it today. Like they've been doing it in person now, like having the audience with them. So it's like super cool. And so I feel like that show kind of brought my interest to business and entrepreneurship. And like now with Plannr, like that's definitely even more. And that's kind of also why I chose to major in business as well.
For me, I don't think there was a specific like person or moment when I was like, business. Yeah. For me, when I was a kid, I started a wedding planning business in 7th grade, thinking that that would go somewhere. I have gone through some pretty crazy ventures and starting some really weird websites and things like that. Weird meaning like a wedding planning business at 7th grade, like that kind of weird website. So I always knew I was going to go into entrepreneurship from the beginning. And my dad also is in business. He's in financial IT though. So seeing him and his work ethic and working towards so many different career goals has been a big inspiration in my life. And then I got into more of the social impact side of things, and I worked for a couple different nonprofits in high school, and getting into the social impact side of things made me wonder how I could make this into a career and make this into a place where I can do this every day rather than just as a side hobby. So social entrepreneurship was like a really good merge of my social impact side and my business side, which was really great because I'm minoring in social change and education and majoring in business. So it was like a good merge of the two. So for me, it wasn't a specific moment or a specific thing. It was more like an amalgamation of all of these different parts of my life just coming together in one intersection.
Yeah, I think for me, like definitely unlike both of them, I don't work on business every single day. I'm pre-med. I'm currently struggling in OChem actually, but I think a big thing that inspired me to go into the space of entrepreneurship is just similar to Shrulika, like my dad. He started his own startup, and he's always like been involved in the startup area and that side. And just I think when he was creating his own startup, we had like the whiteboard paper all over the walls, and there was writing everywhere, and I could like see his brainstorming sessions and everything. And kind of just looking through the process he went through, I really found that super cool, and I wanted to get involved in something similar to that. I think like ideation, that process is definitely a big part of entrepreneurship, and that's like what really gets me excited about it.
That's incredible. Well, I loved hearing from each of you and hearing where you first got inspired to get into entrepreneurship. You just need that like first thing to kind of jumpstart you, whether it's a parent or Shark Tank. I mean, yeah, I love that. Well, if there's anything else you want to share, this is a great time to share it. Any last words? I know you guys mentioned that you were hiring. Maybe you want to take this time to announce that.
Yeah, for sure. We are hiring right now in our fall season. We do have one position available, the fundraising and logistics director. So if you do want to get involved in creating grants, applying to grants, hosting a Plannr related fundraiser event, for sure apply. And all the other like all the positions that we have, you don't need any like skill experience. We will like train everyone. We just want people passionate about the mental health space, and who are obviously like under 21. And if you do want like service hours, again, like we're giving that out. But other than the fundraising logistics director, we're also hiring for peer mentors, like lifestyle peer mentors, who'll be talking to people like our clients. And then we're also hiring for graphic design, more on the marketing side. And finally, we're hiring for researchers, if you are like interested in more of the aspect of like collecting information for either social media or our other projects. But yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. Sorry about the hiccup with the link at the beginning. But yeah, that concludes our founder talk with Plannr Consulting. Thank you again for joining us, and thank you to you all for sharing your story with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, it was great being here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and also feel free to follow us at plannr.co on Instagram. Yes, and yeah.
And sign up for our consultations.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us.